Let's now take a more detailed look at the 2D properties for the existing tree tool. You can access the 2D Properties dialog either by double-clicking on an existing tree or by scrolling down to the bottom of the Object Info palette and clicking the 2D Properties button. This will open the Properties dialog, and here you can set the graphic attributes of the existing tree. The first one to note is this one here, use 2D symbol components, and generally I would expect most people will have this turned on because they will want to control how their trees actually look on the plan. We have different settings for trees to be retained, trees to be removed, and the tree trunk that will appear for the trees that are retained or removed. We also have three choices for transplanted trees: the existing position, their new position, and again the trunk. Now you'll notice that this tree here and the new position tree here begin with number 1. This is actually the symbol name, and if I click and expand this, you'll see that there are a series of symbols, and I mentioned where this file was in the library's defaults existing tree folder, and that's a file that contains various symbols that can be used by the existing tree. If you want to add more symbols or modify these ones, you need to preserve the fact that the name of the symbol begins with 1 dot or 1 period. And if you do that, then any symbols you create will appear in this dialog. Similarly, if you want to create some alternatives to these or modify these for tree removal or existing tree position here, then that symbol name will have to be begin with 2 dot. Apart from that, you can name them anything you like. With the trunks, the symbol name must begin with 3, and we'll see in a moment the 3D properties, the 3D part of the tree, those symbols need to begin with 4, and this way we can then load the applicable symbols into these image pop-ups. So from here we can choose the look that we want. Let's say it's this one here, or maybe that one there. So that's how we want it to look for trees that are being retained. We'll choose this one here for trees that are being removed, and for the tree trunk, let's choose this one here. For transplanted trees, we could do the same, but we'll just leave those set to the default settings. Now, if you want to use significance colors, then we turn this on, and we've already talked about how you would set up these colors initially in the file. But if you forgot to do that, you can always come back and change the colors at any time after even after you've completed the drawing and you've decided that you want to change the significance colors. You can change any of these here and then apply them to all of the symbols, or sorry, all of the existing trees, using this part of the dialog here. You'll see apply properties to this object only, to all objects, that's all existing tree objects on all layers, on the active layer only, to selected objects, and so on. So you can choose not only which other trees get these settings, but which of this group of settings and these three groups of settings on the right here will be applied to the other objects, and also optionally to apply the settings in this dialog to the document defaults if you're going to place any new trees. So if you did decide that you wanted to change the look of the significance colors, and you did edit the colors here, then you could choose one of the options in this list and then say, yes, I'd like to apply the significance colors to all of the existing tree objects on the active layer, and it will then go through and reset the significance colors for all of those things, all of those trees on the active layer. As mentioned before, you can choose to display an indicator beside the tree or around the trunk. Let's just leave it at that for the moment, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. We'll put this in a class, the root zone attributes. we have the primary line color, the primary root line color, the primary root line style, the critical root zone line color, the critical root zone line style. And again, we can put those in a class which allows us to show or hide them. Because there are two different or potentially two different objects with different attributes here, the class styles will not be applied to these objects. So these objects will always use these settings here. The tree protection zone attributes, this is just a single set of attributes, so again you could put those in the existing tree class and then turn the class attributes on for that class, or alternatively you could use these settings here. So once you've got this all set up, you can choose if you want to apply these settings to other objects on this layer or in the file, and if not, then we can just click OK and we're ready to go. Now you might wonder why nothing changed here. Well, it's because we haven't set a significance value here, and we haven't set what is to happen with this tree, and this is on purpose so that you can look at the tree and be reminded that you still have to make some settings here in the object info palette. As soon as I set the significance here, let's set it to highly significant, then the color that we have for highly significant will appear there. As soon as I choose to retain this, then this tree will take on the retained tree attributes. Similarly, if I choose remove, it will take on the remove attributes. Now, just looking at the different ways to display the significance color, double click the tree. Let's switch this back to circle around trunk, and you'll see if we do this that we get the significance color appearing in outline around the trunk, and this is just an alternative way of showing it. The other way of showing it is as the tree fill color itself, and this way the tree is going to take on that color, that the whole tree will take on the color. So there's three ways of showing the tree significance there. As far as the root zones are concerned, again we can turn those on. Critical root zone only. We might actually set this back to indicator beside the tree. Okay, so here we have the critical root zone, the primary root zone, and both root zones. Now I'll talk about these root zones in the movie about the other things in the object info palette, because this movie is literally just about the 2D properties. So again, just to remind you, you can open this dialog either by clicking the 2D properties button or by double clicking a tree.